Thank you for joining us on another podcast here today. Today is all about growing big plants with the essential equipment to growing big plants, which is Easy Clone. So we've got our friend Rob here from Easy Clone,
Hi everybody, how you doing?
and we are excited to talk about some veggies and some big A plants. That's what it's all about today. So we're going to get diving in, and we've got a couple little video assets for you guys to watch. But as always, thanks for spreading the message, showing the love, putting the comments, and all the good stuff. We really appreciate it. Much love and appreciation. We are here for you guys to enhance your gardening abilities and to take your grow game to the next level. And I personally can't think of a better product to feature on an episode like this than Easy Clone. Because if you haven't grown with an Easy Clone, you might not have taken your garden to the next level yet. But hey, it's never too late. And that's the really good thing about today. So we got a lot of pro tips, we got a lot of info, and we're going to have a good time. And thanks, Rob, for joining us. So we really appreciate it.
What do
Happy
you
to be
usually
here.
go to your
Appreciate the
garden with? Is
opportunity
it
to
little
talk to you
seedlings
people
like
and
this?
Oh, sorry, continue.
What do you
no
usually go
worries.
to your garden with? Is it little seedlings like this that you're just so concerned? Is the weather gonna kill it? Is a bird gonna eat it? Is a squirrel gonna step on it? And you wanna go out there something beefy and strong like this? You can get these results in the same amount of time if you click the link down below for a limited time special in the seed starting blueprint, and we'll tell you all the pro tips you need for success.
Heck yeah. We always got to bring Kelly in, you know. Comment down below if you guys want to see more Kelly. Because I know you don't want to look at me. You'd rather look at my awesome wife, that's for sure. So we're going to start bringing Kelly in with some awesome little fun videos like that. And I wanted to say, just right off the bat, a lot of people don't believe us. Scouts honor, swear on everything, that those seeds are from the same packet popped on the exact same day in the same grow room with the same lighting. The only difference is one went into a traditional 72 count clone dome and the other went into an Easy Clone growing system. And I'm not even joking you. I mean, if you started taking that seedling all the way up from the bottom of the taproot all the way to the top of the plant, I'm at least guessing a 15x in growth difference. And I don't know about you, but that's worth it. That's for sure. So let's dive into some Easy Clone stuff here today and keep rocking and rolling. But before we do that, I got to say, you guys have to stay to the end because yesterday was the ending date for our Seeds of Abundance giveaway. And we're really excited because not only do we get to give you guys some seeds, a rack, an LED, but also an Easy Clone unit with the super awesome Propagator Pro plugs. So you got to stay to the end though. We're going to be hooking up one lucky gardener with a game-changing gardening rack that's a 2 foot by 4 foot area that's going to elevate your garden to the absolute next level. But while you're elevating your garden to the next level, also check out our master course. We put 11 months of work into this master course. It is the Seed Starting Blueprint from Backyard Farming Academy. This not only has a 200-page workbook, over 12 different modules, a bunch of different tests and quizzes to make sure that you retain the information, and also guides to guide you throughout the rest of the year, as well as about 8 ebooks. So if you guys want more value than we could even throw on the table for a super exclusive limited time price of $27.99, go over to BYF Academy and grab the Seed Starting Blueprint. It's going to give you all the knowledge, pro tips on the equipment, the products, and the things that you can do to grow the biggest, baddest plants absolutely possible. And as you guys know, we feature the Easy Clone in the Seed Starting Blueprint and the Propagator Pro plugs. So if you really want to maximize your Easy Clone result, the Seed Starting Blueprint is kind of hand in hand with that. So, but I kind of wanted to hand the mic over to Rob here for a second and just let him tell us a little bit about Easy Clone, his journey, the awesome owner, Billy, which I've known for about 10 years now. And I just got to say, guys, this is a great company. Before I hand the mic over, an absolutely amazing company, amazing people, family owned, veteran owned, 20 years in the industry. These are great people, and I highly recommend supporting them. And win-win, because you're going to get badass plants. So, Mike, or Rob, here's the mic. What's that?
I appreciate it, everybody. Happy to talk to you all today. If you're not familiar with Easy Clone started as a hydroponic, purely clone-based, using collars, using aeroponic and hydroponic methods of producing clones at a higher level, faster, bigger, easier than any other unit out there. No more burping of domes, no more managing humidity in your room, no more worrying about PM in your domes, leaves touching each other, root rot. You have none of those issues because we have balanced the environment inside of the unit itself with water, oxygen, nutrients, and gel hormones to make sure that your plants, where they need it, have the optimum environment. So with that being said, we have shortened on the clone side from a typical 3 to 4 week clone time down to less than 2 weeks for many strains. I've been in the commercial growing arena for over 10 years now. I started using domes. Then when I learned about Easy Clone, I became very, very impressed. I switched my whole system over. I now run 15 of these units daily. My success rate on my clones is around 98 to 99%, which is unheard of in domes. So with that being said, went through years and years and years of using them. And then I started geno hunting for different types of plants and went to Billy and said, I will need to pop seeds. I need to know what can I do? I can't do them in collars. So Billy, being the entrepreneur and the reactive person he is, went out and he actually developed our Prop Pro plugs, which are amazing. You can use your Prop Pro plugs not only for clones, but also to propagate seeds, which in our industry is the majority of what we do. Plug the seeds into 128, and then I'm no joke, not over exaggerating anything. In less than 2 weeks, you will have brand new plantable plants anywhere from 8 to 24 inches, depending on what kind of plants you're putting into your Easy Clone system. If you doubt me, I welcome you to try it. We have 16 site units that are small. You can literally throw them on your counter, put a small light on top of it, and within 2 weeks, you will call me up and say, can I please have the 128s? It is that simple. We teach you how to use the nutrients. We teach you how to put the seeds in, and it's really plug and play at that point. You're not burping. You're not watching your clones daily. All you're doing is watching them grow.
I gotta echo and say, he is not joking in any way, shape, or form. When you start using one of these units, especially, well, cutting clones, obviously, but these new Propagator Pro plugs, which we're going to go more into here in a little bit, are jaw-dropping with the results. Like you said, no humidity domes. Who has tons of issues hardening their plants from this really high humidity environment that a lot of times we as growers, our life gets too busy. We forget to pop and crack the vents a little bit more every day and burp the domes, as Rob said, and all of these things. It's such a, timely process, really, to harden off your seedlings. And for me, that was another thing that got me right off the bat, was starting seeds with an Easy Clone and Propagator Pro plugs. No clone domes, no hardening issues, instant thriving once you transplant. It's unbeatable.
Well, they're not only growing, they're actually hardening themselves off at the same time. In my clone room, I actually put in a small fan so it keeps my leaves moving a little bit, and that increased my stalk strength by at least 10%. Some strains more than that. So I'm actually hardening off my clones and my seeds, my seedlings, while I'm also developing root structure. You can't do that in a dome. So when my clones and my seeds are ready to be removed from my units, I put them right into my room, my bedroom. There is no in-between time. I don't have to have that 2 week hardening off period. So my growth cycle is shorter.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's the other thing for me is not only is my growth cycle shorter, I feel more secure as a grower.
Oh yeah.
I don't worry like I used to. And as a commercial grower, I was able to actually reduce my cloning staff by about 30%,
Oh yeah.
which was a significant change for us. I had 3 people just managing clones in my clone room, and I reduced it to about 2, sometimes 1.5, depending on what we have going on, depending on what we're growing at the time. So it is a labor savings, not only planting them, it's a labor savings in watching them and managing them daily, and it's a labor savings in transplanting, because you literally take the prop plugs out of the tray and put it into whatever medium you're growing, whether you're growing into cocoa cubes, whether you're growing into a dirt medium, whether you're growing into a cocoa medium, whatever it is, the plug will go directly into that. They're sized to fit the Grodan cubes with the 4 and 6 with the hole in the top. They fit right in it. It's literally plug and play. So I used to have 2 to 3 people doing transplant a day. It's one person transplanting 1,000 in a day with no problem at all. And they're listening to podcasts like this while they're doing it
Yeah.
because they're not stressed. They're not taking things out of collars anymore and worrying about crushing the stem, or swirling your roots to make sure, trimming roots. You don't have to do any of that. It is stabilized. You get 360 root growth rather than the beard. You get the 360 round root growth coming out of the plug. It's an amazing addition to our system.
I totally agree. And the beautiful thing about them too is they work in any size system. So I want to go into the
Any.
systems just a little bit real quick, so that way our viewers here can start to, put together in their head what size of system might be good for them. But there's a couple things that obviously both of us want to talk about. Now, let's say that you're a smaller gardener, right off the bat, they're going to be like, I want the cheapest, smallest one. I don't have a very big garden. And that's totally fine for a lot of people. However, one of my big pro tips is to upsize your easy clone by at least a good 30%. So that way, not only can you fit a little bit more population in there, but you can also stagger the spacing. So, like, let's say somebody's
100%.
wanting to grow basil or even kale or a leafy green in an easy clean or an easy clone, even full term. You can totally do that. You just might need to allow for a little bit more space for that plant. So that's where I really push people towards getting something like the 128 over even the 64. This is a huge opportunity for them to have bigger, bushier, badder plants, because my tomatoes this year, like we showed, they were getting 24 inches tall, 12 inches wide, but they were all stacked right next to each other. The magic is when you start pulling them out of even a 128 with every single seed cell sown, and they're all that big. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy. So there's
We
this.
have, we have, I don't mean to interrupt, but we have numerous groups out there and every different market, especially in the prepper market, who asked us if they could not only propagate, but also grow in our systems, because the system itself can take yours all the way from seed to fruit.
Yep.
If you space them out. I've grown tomatoes, I've grown berries, I've grown tree stalks inside of my cloners.
Yep.
And all you do is you put the spacing in there. And once a week when I'm doing that, and you're in a situation where maybe you can't transplant outside, maybe you just don't want to. Maybe you're in an apartment and you want your fruit and your vegetables right there on your table. You can do that. All you gotta do is once a week, because our system is so effective. About once a week, I lift it up and I trim the roots. Excuse me, because the roots are so big inside of the system. So I'll go in, I'll do a root trim, and that's all I do. All I do is make sure my water's balanced with nutrients. I like my ppms around 230, 250. When they start fruiting, I'll bump that up to 450, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. It's simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can take them all the way from seed to finish right inside your easy clone.
Yeah, and even things like leafy greens, like last year I did bok choy.
100%.
I had like 6 types of bok choy, and it was like the middle of the winter, and I'm like, cool, fresh, super vibrant, really healthy, mega delicious plant. Fresh salad in the middle of winter in Colorado, homegrown, can't beat it.
I have a customer who's a chef, and he has 4 of these units in his kitchen, and he rotates them, and he does custom everything else, and he's got some that are in different stages. So he's always able to have one cloner that's ready to go at all times with leafy vegetables. So yes, you can do that. You can stagger them. You always in your kitchen, set on racks, ready to go, fresh vegetables.
That's sweet. Just 2 racks right next to each other with 2
Yep.
cloners a pop.
Yep. And by the
That's
time he's done with the one, the other one's ready to go. And then they refill the other one with either cuts or with seeds. And it's just a cycle because you're getting leafy greens in about half the time.
yeah. And on that, I just got to call it real quick. This is spontaneous. Whoever comments down below leafy greens, we've got something special for you because you are about to take your leafy green game to the next level with 365 gardening. So go ahead and comment down below leafy greens, and we're going to take your leafy green world to the next level.
It's the way they respond to our system is truly shocking.
I agree. I totally agree. We'll get into it here in a little bit, but I'm curious, what type of lighting wattage are you typically recommending for a typical home gardener? Oh, all right. Hey guys, so the Zoom link died, so we're going to go ahead and send a new Zoom link
All
to
right,
Rob.
we've got our water in, we've got our nutrients, pH dialed, good to go. Now I wanted to show you guys the level of water that we want in this thing. There are these lips or steps in the reservoir, and this is actually to indicate the perfect height of water when full. And what you'll notice is it's full over there, but not over here. We actually did that on purpose because we want it to drain, because the drain is on the other side. Now that we've done that, pretty simple. The next step is we're gonna grab our top, and one pro tip is make sure that you've got your letters in the right direction. So once it's on, you've got all your plugs in, you've done your labeling, you don't have to go, oh my gosh, why did I do that backwards? Now, the next part, you can either take the Propagator Pro plugs and soak them in a bucket of water, which the pro there is you get a little bit of the particulate off the plug. The con is all the water, the nutrients, the time, but if you're making plugs already, it's a good call to just go ahead and do it. For me, I'm actually loving the lazy style. We just spread these things out. We're gonna go ahead and fill up this cloner. We'll be back in 1 second.
Yeah, and as you guys saw in that video there, that was me just literally grabbing the Propagator Pro plugs, opening the bag.
Can you hear me?
And yeah, hey Rob, hey, how's it going? Are you back? Hey Rob, can you hear us? Hey Rob, can you hear us? Hello, hey Rob, can you hear us?
Yep, I'm back.
All right,
Sorry about that.
No,
technical issue there.
No, that was not your fault. For some reason, the Zoom just died out. It's all good. Don't you love 21st century stuff? But hey, while
You'd
you
think
were,
it would seem like after the pandemic we'd have that all figured out, right?
sometimes, right? Sometimes. Well, hey, while you were gone, we actually just showed a little video of me actually opening the Propagator Pro plugs and just simply dumping them out on top of the Easy Clone and just go ahead and putting them in the holes. And since you're here, I wanted to kind of walk through this. I've talked about the 2 different ways that we can prep our plugs, whether it's the old school way, which is, filling up a bucket, pHing it, adding nutrients, pre-soaking our plug. For me personally, I kind of feel that one of the main pros of doing that is just really getting some of the sediment off of the plugs. Other
100%.
than that, I've actually kind of bypassed that and just gone the lazy way to, first off, save time. Second off, save resources and money. But third off, really to just test the amazingness of the Propagator Pro plugs. And I've got to say, at the end of the day, whether it was either method, I had the exact same results. Because obviously,
100%.
The beautiful thing about the Easy Clone is as long as you've got your nutrients and your pH dialed in the reservoir, if you put a dry plug in up top, it's pre-soaked. So what do you guys typically recommend?
So there's 2 ways to do it. I used to pre-soak all of my plugs. We used to grow in Grodan, all these different pieces. And then we started doing tests and we realized it just was not necessary. Yeah. Especially once we started mixing the hormone into the water itself. So what we do is we actually just do a plain water wash real quick just to get the sediment off, to let the clones float to the plugs float to the top. And then I just take them out and plug them right in. You don't have to do that. We do it just because it leaves less sediment. As things sit in, they sit in the bag, the little pieces will flake off. I don't want that in my system. So that's how I do it, but it is not required by any stretch of the imagination anymore.
Right.
There's no more soaking your stuff for 24 hours. The plugs are designed to absorb the right amount of water and maintain the right amount of water. So regardless of how much water you soak them in, all that's going to drain into your system anyways.
Yep.
So you have to plan for that because you're over soaking those plugs. So we have actually found it to be detrimental to over soak your plugs because it overfills your system once that all drains into the reservoir itself. So if you're going to soak your plugs, here is my suggestion. Determine how much water you need in your system. Like in a 128, it's 14 gallons. I'll put 10 gallons in, or I'll mix 14 gallons in a large container. I'll soak them, and then I'll strain off and pour that water into my unit. But if that's too much work for you, mix your water in your reservoir, do your ppms, mix your hormone, take the plug, put it in your system, and run with it. You don't need to soak stuff anymore.
And dude, that was awesome. It was funny, when I first started messing with the Propagator Pro plugs a year and a half ago ish, I was doing both ways, and I was like, I'm gonna pre-soak the plugs with a little bit different nutrients and a little bit different pH than what's in the reservoir, and I'm gonna try and go mad scientist and make it all complicated. And at the end of the day, I had the exact same results. Yeah, there was a tiny bit of sediment, literally opening the bag, dumping. But for the amount of money and time and resources that you save, I'm kind of telling people to go that route, to be honest.
Straight. We have a tendency to overthink because we want to make sure that our babies are taken care of.
Oh yeah.
Easy Clone's done the overthinking for you.
That's for sure.
We've already taken care of that. Yeah. So we ask you to trust us. We've done this for a very long time. We're not going to lead you down a primrose path or something that's going to damage your goods. We've been there, done that, and we want you to be successful. So we're not going to tell you anything that's not going to make you successful. This will work for you. Don't overthink it. Don't overwork yourself.
100%. I always tell people, they're like, so what's the con? What's the con? What's the bad part about Easy Clone? And I go, it makes the rest of your garden look really hard. And
yeah, exactly.
And
I'll tell you this, there are a couple bad things about it. You have to trim your roots sometimes because your roots will get too darn big. They will get some year, depending on what you're growing, your roots will get massive. You'll get the big old beard. So I trim every one of my clones coming out real quick. I give a snip, I put them in my medium, and I'm good to go because they're just too big and they will, they'll choke each other out. Yeah. Some of the other things that are a quote unquote problem is, whereas we used to have extras because we would clone extras and stuff. Now 99% of your clones are going to take and your seeds are going to take. You're going to have probably more plants than you planned of because you're going to plan for extra. So you're going to be kicking yourself because you're going to be throwing away 20 to 30 perfectly viable clones, and it's going to break your heart.
Right.
So,
the only con is it works too good.
It works too good.
It makes it too easy.
One con that we used to have that we used to get comments on, and also which led us down developing the Prop Pro plugs, is people would ask, what happens if the power goes out, Rob?
Yeah.
My clone is sitting there. It's not getting water. Do I have to spray it? With the Prop Pro plugs, if you happen to lose power, the plugs will hold water to keep your clone alive and viable for up to 48 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't have to worry about that anymore. And the water from the plug will drain down into the roots and will keep them viable. We have actually had roots stay viable up to 72 hours after losing all water using the Prop Pro plugs.
That's so amazing, because also I'm sure that the roots kind of wick some moisture up
into
the plug, and then the plug
100%.
wicks some moisture out into the reservoir, and it's kind of like this double action.
Yeah, you get it coming from both sides.
Yeah,
you get it coming from both sides because they're going to be the roots when they get longer in your water base, and you have the plug itself holding water, so they're draining down and wicking up at the same time, and you're not going to lose those plants. Yeah. Now, granted, if you lose power for 2, 3, 4 days, you're going to have a problem. all my commercial growers, anything mechanical has the potential to go out. And every one of my commercial growers who run multiple systems, I always make sure they have an extra pump laying around in case one of them burns out after a couple of years.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just keep one on the shelf because it's literally plug and play. It is so simple to change a pump out. It takes 2 minutes.
Right.
In all the years I've been running my units, I've had 3 pumps go out in 6 years. So it just depends. It just depends on, how often you're using them. If you're using 24/7, I rotate mine, but I keep an extra pump or two sitting on the shelf.
Right.
And to be honest with you, pumps are like $30 or $40.
Right. And it's a super quick install. Like if it does
super quick.
2 to 3
it's
minutes.
less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Less than 5 minutes.
Yeah. Actually, I'm thinking back, and because I actually had an Instagram comment on this recently. They were like, until your water or your pump turns off or your power goes out. And I've first off had it happen one time, and I think I've been using Easy Clone now for 11 or 12 years. I had the power go out one time. It turned on 2 hours later. 0 issues in any way, shape, or form. You literally couldn't even tell.
Fine. The average power outage in the United States is less than an hour.
I bet.
So, there are natural disasters and things like that can happen. Oh, yeah. But I have found most commercial growers and people doing large cultivation who are really worried about that loss, have backup generators and such, which run things anyways. So for the home cultivator, it's truly not an issue, even if you're just growing in the collars, because they're going to be fine for multiple hours, even if you're just using the collars.
Right.
But if you are ultimately worried about it, use the plugs. Done. Not an issue.
Yeah, and once your roots are down in that water, now you've doubled your longevity because your 100%. Roots are absorbing water for your plant and all of the normal stuff. So it's so cool. Actually, I'm going to ask, hey, Kelly, can we slide back one slide? Because I know that one new invention from Easy Clone, aside from the prop plugs, which obviously Rob and I are absolutely in love with. Another big bonus of these is they are cocoa, peat, and a little tiny bit of biochar. This allows them to hold microbials better and organic acids, which ultimately those organic acids and those microbials help elicit root production pretty quickly and expedite root growth. So obviously we've got that going on with the Prop Pro plug. It can also go into your raised bed, your soil, whatever. And by the time the grow cycle's over, it's going to be either completely gone and decomposed or barely anything left. Or 100%. You can also, let's say that you're more of a clone person. You're like, I do all my seeds in my Prop Pro plugs. I get them nice and big. I transplant them out. Once they're in my garden, now I want to go and select my very favorite plants, whether it's my favorite Aconcagua roaster pepper or my favorite Kodiak King dwarf tomato. Now we can actually clone those. And so traditionally, Easy Clone 20 years ago created the very first clone collar. Well, they've actually come back 20 years later to bring the market a new innovation. And Rob, tell us about the Infinity Clone Collar.
So we developed the Infinity Collar for our growers that were looking for a true reusable product. Our collars themselves are not supposed to be used more than once because they are porous in nature. They will store organics. And no matter what you use to clean them, organic materials, biologics will lodge within the porous pieces of the collars themselves. So there are 1 to 2 time use. The Infinity Collar literally is an infinity collar. We've had it manufactured at the highest level using medical grade silicone. It is not porous. It is easily cleanable just using water and bleach. You can soak them. The collar is extremely easy to put clones in and get clones out. And the other reason we developed them is we're also in the tree industry, orchards, citrus, so on and so forth. And they cut larger clones. The small collars themselves aren't as adaptable to larger type of clones. So we developed the clone opening on the Infinity Collar to be a little bit bigger. It'll still handle your extremely small clones, but for those who are looking for a larger diameter opening for bigger clones, that's your Infinity Collar. Holds everything stable. Now, you have to load the collar with the clone, and then once it's rooted and you're transplanting, you have to unload the collar. But that's just transplant, 101 right there. So
Right.
we have found we have a little less, not a little less, actually quite a bit less clone damage taking them out of the Infinity collar. They're very easy to handle compared to the smaller, more porous collars, the neoprene ones. So the Infinity collars are a little easier to handle, a little easier to open, a little easier to manage your clones on transplant.
And then
But
also,
an amazing, amazing product.
yeah.
Amazing product.
And I'm just looking at it, and then they handle multiple sizes of stem, like you're talking about, which
Yep.
was one of the only cons of the old prop collars. Is let's say people had big, thick stemmed plants, they had to do a tiny bit more work to get either the cutting into the clone collar or get the clone collar into the prop machine. Usually, never a problem still. But I really like this design because you've kind of got the little, four-way rubber, basically, I don't know what you would call that. The little the four-way,
The opening,
the
we
opening,
we call it the star opening.
the star opening.
I guess to me it kind of looks like a sphincter. I don't know how else to put it. You know what I mean? But it opens to fit the size of clone that you're wanting to put in it.
Yeah.
And again, it is actually stiff enough to stabilize that clone so you get a lot less lean back and forth,
Yeah.
as it's growing. So, or before it's rooted and has that bottom weight, sometimes clones have a tendency to lean. The Infinity color really holds them straight up.
Yeah. Just more
And
structural
again,
integrity.
exactly, there's a lot of structural integrity in it. And when we were in things like orchards, larger, like one of our first people used it was a rose cloner. Well, they cut tops off their roses. They're not cutting small clones off the bottom. They cut the top of their plant. That's their clone. That's their dominant clone. So you need a bigger collar to handle a clone of that size.
And then it's got that like woody stem, so it
Yep.
needs that little bit extra room and the ability to open and kind of contour around the stem. So A plus, once again, you guys are doing great, and I think that is a really good product. So I know that, Rob, you've got a limited amount of time, so I want to make sure that we're respectful of your time. But real quick, I want to say for anybody who's watching, if you want an easy clone, if you want some Infinity collars or some Prop Pro plugs, scan the QR code, go over to the BYFS website, and grab yourself some. Now,
don't forget also, Tate, don't forget your clear res. You need to keep your systems clean, and don't forget your hormone gel. That is very, very important. We make that all very reasonably priced because we know how important it is.
Yeah, and guys, throwing it out there, the clear res is exactly what it says. It just helps keep your reservoir super clear, avoids algae, avoids bioslime, helps keeps roots cleaner, root pores and tips a lot cleaner, uptaking more nutrients. So it's an overall just really good additive. And then the clone gel as well. Typical style clone gel, but it's good to not only support products that are built as a system to work with each other, but also really good companies and people like over at Easy Clone. So make sure you go.
And the other thing to remember on the clone gel is we've actually developed recipes now that you can add our clone gel directly to the water. You don't need to dip your clones anymore. You can add it directly to the water. That way it's getting the hormone constantly and not getting washed off of your clone. So that's a little easier process for transplanting also. Mix it right in your water with your nutrient and you're good to go.
That is killer. Yeah. I mean, I love that. And that is just, once again, Easy Clone is here to make your life easy. Remove steps, remove redundancies, maximize results, and optimize performance. That's Easy Clone in a nutshell, guys.
Yes, it is.
So, all right, let's slide to the next slide. And Rob, hey, let's have you, before you drop the mic and you're out, do you want to talk a little bit about timing? We've got seed sowing, easy clone transfer, transplanting, and outdoor transplanting. If you've got any pro tips on any of those things before you roll, let us know.
So making sure that your water is set first is key. Making sure your ppms are where you want them, making sure your temperatures are where you want them. Don't be in a rush. Don't rush this process. Make sure your nutrient levels are proper, your hormone levels are proper. Make sure your pH levels are where you want them to be. Once you set that, everything else is going to take care of itself. You're realistically looking at, 2 to 3 weeks on a transfer on the seedling. You're looking at 2 to 3 weeks. That's unheard of. And if you just have to try it. I know I want you to just believe me, but it truly is how it's going to work for you. 2 to 3 weeks, I promise you. Now, when you're talking about cloning, I know people who are spending 7 to 10 days total from clone to transplant, depending on what kind of plants are. Less than 2 weeks on the cloning side.
That's so fast.
You can't beat it. I know people who take a system and they grow and they clone off of their easy clone system. There's a lot of different variations you can do, but you're going to lessen the amount of time. So basically what I'm saying on that is, if you're going to use an easy clone system, don't start too early, because you're going to end up with a whole bunch of plants 2 to 3 weeks early, or 3 to 4 weeks early sometimes, and you won't know where to put them.
Right.
So trust the process, trust the science. We promise it'll work.
That's such a huge advantage for most people, especially right now. Everybody's lives are too busy, and it seems like we end up behind the 8 ball inevitably because we're juggling stuff, and we've got the kids to go get, and we've got the work to go to, and this and that, right? So a lot of times we're like, oh crap, it's already past the date that we thought it was, or we might be late. Well, this is another way to pick up that opportunity and get right back on the schedule.
Yeah, you can catch up. And again, just remember, if you're growing inside, you don't have to harden out. If you're going to transfer outside, just make sure you still do some hardening off on outside to get them used to the temperature differences. And of course, obviously, wait the respectful amount of time after your last frost.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
That's it. Everything else is pretty much cut and dry. If you look at our website, you look at your website, you'll see a lot of links. And Easy Clone, we've done all the videos. It shows you from start to finish on how to do this process. We're by your side the whole way. If you have any questions, you can email us. We have emails on the website. We are very responsive. We want you to succeed.
Oh yeah. And I can attest for that. These guys I've seen them bend over backwards for their clients time and time again, and go the extra mile, deliver amazing products and results for people. Can't thank you enough, Rob. Appreciate having you on to the podcast today.
Happy to be here. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, brother. Have a good one.
Bye.
Well, let's give a big round of applause for our buddies over at Easy Clone. Rob is awesome. Billy's awesome. The whole team over there is really good people. Started from the bottom, working their way up, bringing good products and everything for the growers. And that's really what you want, support good people that make good things to create a win-win-win. That's what it's all about. Now, the next thing that we've got to consider after we've grown our gigantic plants in our Easy Cloner, because today is all about growing big plants. And the number one step to growing big plants is using an Easy Clone. It really is. It's that simple. You can try to figure out a whole bunch of other ways to get your plant ahead. But at the end of the day, when we get our plants ahead in the propagation cycle is really when we get our plants ahead at harvest. Because the bigger, badder, beefier plants we bring out to the garden, the bigger harvest they deliver to the dinner table. So how do we maximize these big, badass veg plants that we've just grown in the Easy Clone? Well, there's a couple different things. As Rob said, you don't really need to, but traditionally we recommend people to plant for a 20% failure in their seed room. Now, when you're using an Easy Cloner, you don't really need to do that. You might still do it to just narrow down the 20% smaller plants or the 80% best plants, because it's literally in an Easy Clone, it's either better or best. It's not good, it's better or best. So you don't even really need to do that. But when you calculate plant needs and then you calculate plant quantity, population, spacing, all these things give you your plant number. Now, when you go out with a bigger plant, you can actually plant less density in your garden. So calculate for those plant needs, whether it's spacing requirements or canopy support or lighting or shade, All of these different things really help to maximize these big plants that we've brought out into the garden. Now, the easy clone into the cocoa block transfer. You guys might be like, what's a cocoa block? Well, we're going to get into that here in a second. And make sure, once again, stick around to the end of this podcast because we are announcing today's winner for the Seeds of Abundance giveaway. And I'm pretty excited about it. So we're going to go a little bit more into the cocoa block system here in a little bit. But the cocoa block system works perfectly with easy clone units. They already have a pre-cut hole. Boom, like Rob said, snip those roots off, boom, transplant, boom, you're done. That's literally it. It takes way less time. It is just way easier. So if you want the easiest results possible with the biggest, baddest plants you can possibly grow, head on over to Backyard Farming Supply and grab yourself an easy clone and some Propagator Pro plugs. Let's keep on rocking and rolling though, because easy clones can be better, best, and then insane. And that's all about by maximizing and optimizing our environment. And that's through temperature, irrigation frequency, and settings. So temp is obviously what we've talked about on the Seed Starting Blueprint and Backyard Farming Academy a lot, is flatter temperatures and humidity. The flatter the temp, the flatter the humidity, the easier it's going to be for us to get amazing results. When we've got variable temps and humidities, it's going to give us variable results, and it's really that easy. So adjust the temperature of your grow room typically towards that 75 to 80 mark. You can go down into 68 if it's winter, but you're going to get slower growth. The warmer you keep your room, the more humidity there needs to be. Now, we all know when we walk into a botanical gardens or a greenhouse or whatever it may be, a big, giant plant operation, what's the first thing we feel? Nice, warm, moist air. That's really what we want to replicate in our grow room, and especially our seed starting station. This is going to give our easy clone the environment that it needs. So I recommend 75 to 80 degrees and 40 to 60% humidity. Now, like Rob said, you can actually bring your humidity down a little bit in an easy clone propagation room versus a normal propagation room, which will ultimately allow those plants to just be harder right off the bat, thicker stalks, sturdier stems, sturdier, thicker leaves, which ultimately stand up to the elements a lot better. Another big thing with an easy clone is irrigation frequency. A mandatory with an easy clone is a simple cycle timer. And that could be something that turns your pump on and turns your pump off. When you can turn on your easy clone at about 90 seconds to 120 seconds and leave it off for about 10 to 15 minutes, now you've minimized your algae, especially with the Propagator Pro plugs. You've given them enough moisture to allow seeds to germinate and roots to grow, but you didn't over moisten them where you're potentially causing too much water, which can then host a couple different issues. Now, the big benefit of an aeroponic system is because you're misting oxygenated nutrient solution at a correct nutrient ppm and pH, you're going to have a lot less chances of pythium and root rot as long as the temp, humidity of the environment is fine and your power doesn't go out and your cycle timer continues to operate normally. It's very, very difficult to get any type of root pathogen issue in an easy clone as long as these variables are dialed in and taken care of. So irrigation frequency in an easy clone is absolutely essential. And if you guys need a cycle timer, head on over to our Amazon store to be able to grab a couple different products to light up your easy clone unit. And the next one is easy clone settings. Like Rob said, don't rush the initial setup. As long as you take your time with the initial setup, you get your pH and your ppms dialed, and even in a target, it doesn't even have to be exactly perfect. Now you can basically walk away from your easy clone unit for 10 to 14 days. and come back to full-blown results. I've done it multiple times. Set it, forget it for 2 weeks, come back, bomb, rock and roll. Unless you're doing clones, then you've got faster results. The only bad thing about Easy Clone is it gives you bigger, more amazing results faster, and it questions how you've been gardening for your entire life. And another thing that it does is maximize your harvest. And going back to these seedlings, and this is my arm, guys, like my kids couldn't even believe the differences. They helped me sow all the seeds. Kelly couldn't believe the differences. And Kelly's been seeing Easy Clones rock and roll for over 10 years now. And every single time I use one of these systems, I am further amazed, and I'm further grateful that I've adopted this style of propagation. These seedlings are the exact same seed from the same seed pack, grown in the same seed room, on the exact same day, at the exact same age. Which one would you rather grow? I can already tell you which one I'd rather grow. I want to grow big plants because that's what it's all about. Growing the bigger, badder, higher yielding plants that make all your gardener friends jealous and you smile every single time you walk out there and look at that thing. You're like, oh my God, look what I did. Even though we didn't do it, Mother Nature did it and the plant did it. We're just helping it. That is one of my favorite parts. So, types of big plants and techniques. Obviously, you've got clones and propagation and propagated cuttings and seedlings and all these different things. But at the end of the day, what are the actual plant classes? Well, we've got vining plants like beans, tall varieties like tomatoes, and bushy plants like peppers. We've also got spreading plants like squash. The really cool thing is you can do all of these in one Easy Clone unit. This year, in one of my Easy Clones, I had okra, eggplant, tomato, pepper, and bok choy, all in one cloner. That is pretty awesome. Leafy greens, veggies, and fruit. I want to see somebody do all three classes fruiting at the same time. There it is. Whoever has got the footage, whoever has already accomplished growing fruits, veggies, and leafies in one Easy Clone at the same time, you are a winner. Post in the comments down below. We really love to see your results. And thanks for being a green thumb. We're going to also go into the cocoa blocks a little bit more. Cocoa blocks. So there is a cocoa plug, and the cocoa plug is the little one at top. However, I love you, cocoa plug, but sorry, I'm just not using you anymore. I'm over it. This year was the last year. I'm going to be doing cocoa plugs. This is the first year of me saying from here on out, I'm propagating with an Easy Clone, no matter what. I'm going to switch all of my propagation over to an Easy Clone. The only reason to grow in 72 count domes at this point is if you just need a lot of plants in a really small area. That's the only area that a clone plug and dome will beat an Easy Clone, is just sheerly numbers. But I'd like to do a challenge. Let's say that you've got 4 72 count trays. That is 246 plants, I believe, if my off the top math serves me correct. Well, 128 cloner, I think, could go through 2 full cycles to deliver you 2 batches of plants, and even the second batch of plants would be bigger than the clone dome plants. What do you guys think? Should we do it? Is it a good challenge? I think it'd be fun. But also, once we move past the plug and we get into actual transplant, I am sold on the cocoa block growing system. It is super easy. It's the same style, media, and consistency of the Propagator Pro plug, so it's a perfect segue for transplant of media consistency air porosity, moisture retention. But there's a couple different sizes of the cocoa block. So there's the 3x3, there's the 4x4, there's the 6x4, and the 6x6. So if I was starting from an easy clone unit, I would propagate in a 128 site easy clone. Then I would actually choose to go to the 4x4 cocoa block. This gives you a little bit more room for the plant to grow just a little bit bigger than the 3x3. It's not much more money and cost, but it also just gives you almost twice the size of root mass, because when you factor the extra media, maybe it's 33% more mass with only just 1 inch bigger. It's 1 inch taller, 1 inch wider, but that 1 inch taller and wider, when you hold them next to each other, you're like, that's a lot more media. So it's a lot more root mass. So it's a lot more water retention. It's also a lot more oxygenation for the root zone. And it's a little bit more room for the plant to grow. So you go into the 4x4, and you could call it at that. But if you're like, let's say you're like, hey, I just like to grow my peppers early. You're like, hey, I'm going to follow Rob's advice, and I'm going to start, but I'm going to actually start early. And the only reason I'm starting early is because I'm starting with my peppers. And my peppers are a little bit slower to grow. Well, it's the facts. So let's say that you start your peppers in January, and you've got one easy clone, 128 sites with even 32 different varieties of pepper in one easy clone unit. And you've got 4 plants of each, which is the numbers that you could get. Well, at that point, once you come out of the easy clone and you're like, I just want to continue growing this big badass plant, now you go into the 4x4. You allow it to veg up even longer. And let's say that you're like, wow, these things actually grew even bigger than I thought. Now you can actually incorporate a next transplant and either go into the 6x4 or the 6x6. And now you've got a massive plant and root system. You didn't have to get any containers. You didn't have to mix any soil. You didn't have to get dirty. You didn't have to make a transplanting station. Maybe a little bit in of essence, but these are so cool because you just put the 4x4 blocks down in your grow tray, take your easy clone, snip the roots, plug it right in the block, done. It literally turns transplanting into maybe a 10-second thing per plant. Probably not even. And now you've got some of the biggest, baddest plants you can possibly bring into your garden. And I know that once you do this once, you're going to think to yourself, why have I been doing it any other way? I'm growing with easy clone and cocoa blocks from here on out. So head on over to byfsupply.com and grab yourself some. I'm sure you guys are probably thinking, hey, when are we going to find out who is the winner of the Seeds of Abundance giveaway? Well, it's going to be coming up pretty soon. We're going to keep you waiting a little bit longer because we are about to change one gardener's life forever with the Easy Clone system, the Propagator Pro plugs, and the Seeds of Abundance rack. But until then, let's go over some pro tips for troubleshooting big plants for maximum success. So the first thing is, once again, look at this plant. That thing was less than a month old. It's kind of crazy. And those roots had already been pruned twice. So I absolutely love these things. The first thing that we're going to watch for big plants and to promote big plants is just leggy seedlings. Insufficient light, an incorrect nutrient solution, or pH will just often allow your plant to stretch out just a little bit more, giving it a little bit more stretch on the stem before those 2 cotyledon pop out. And sometimes that'll make your plant pop over or fall over. And then it has to grow a little bit sideways and then it grows back up toward the light. Well, the cool thing about an easy clone unit, as well as pairing it in the right environment with the right light, is those problems fix themselves. Because you've already got your easy clone on a timer and it's irrigating and you're hardening it off, you have a lot less legginess in an easy clone system. You also have much faster root growth. So if you're worried and you're like, hey, I'm just getting slow root growth, I just don't have the roots that I want. I feel like I'm transplanting these seedlings and I'm barely seeing roots, or they're like maybe sticking out the plug. Easy clones for you once again. Because if you've got slow root growth, you're going to not have big plants. You're going to have small, little stunted plants. It's all about the roots. The more you grow your roots, the bigger the fruits. That's for sure. So another one is yellowing leaves. And this is often nutrient deficiencies or incorrect pH. Now, there's a couple other things that can cause this, but just like Rob said, dial in your nutrients, dial in your pH for growing in general, and your life is going to be a lot easier. That's for sure. So if you want to keep yellowing leaves away, dial those ppms and pH in. Make sure you've got your water nice and mixed around, and you're not checking either a diluted spot that's lower in pH or ppm, or a toxic spot that's higher in pH and ppm. This is a big pro tip to allow you guys to make sure that your plants go all the way to the end with no yellow leaves. When I get home today, I'm actually going to post onto the BYFS Live, and I'm going to walk into the seed start station, and I'm going to go and grab one of these tomato plants that I actually left in the Easy Clone for an additional 10 days. So at this point, it's been in the Easy Clone for 40 days, which is way too long. I don't recommend it unless you just want to laugh at how giant these plants and root systems are, because it's absolutely amazing. So tune into the live here on Backyard Farming Supply in about an hour to see day 40 tomato plugs in a Propagator Pro plug in an Easy Cloner. But let's keep rocking and rolling. Obviously, plant tips are absolutely essential, and we've got plant tips out the yin yang. I don't know if you guys have been over to Backyard Farming Supply on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and even Twitter, and even X. We've got some amazing knowledge over there for you guys. Like this video right here, let's dive in and see how you can skyrocket your transplant results and grow bigger plants.
Are you getting ready to transplant your seedlings or clones? Well, hopefully they look like this at day 30. I know when I've got plants like this, I want to send them to the next level. And that is where Silver Bullet comes into play. Silver Bullet is an aroma and flavor enhancer for all plants. It's great when used as a root drench throughout the entire grow cycle, but it's also really good as a foliar spray or a dunk.
So that is Silver Bullet. And Silver Bullet is one of our flagship nutrients at Key to Life Nutrients. It's an amazing product that is a micronized sulfur that is the most plant-friendly nutrient. Now, I say that because it balances all nutrients. Silver Bullet and sulfur in general balance nutrient ratios and ultimately eliminate toxicities and deficiencies when in moderation. I really like to call Silver Bullet the most plant-friendly nutrient because there are nutrients like calcium and phosphate, and the relationship between calcium and phosphate is very finicky. Once the ratio is ever so slightly off, you've either got a calcium or a phosphate lockout. And then you've got a purple stem and you've got purple petioles on your leaves. Your plants start getting smaller leaves up top and just ultimately slow down in growth. If you're seeing stuff like this, Silver Bullet might be a great product for you. It balances all of the nutrient relationships with each other and the ratios to allow them to be in balance so there is no toxicity or deficiency. Toxicities and deficiencies usually aren't because the nutrient is there in too much or is not there in too little. It's usually because of the balance with another nutrient in the nutrient system that it correlates with, like calcium to phosphate. So if you want to equalize all your plant nutrient relationships and ratios, Silver Bullet is a go-to product for you. It's also a game changer when used as an aroma and flavor enhancer. It boosts your taste, It boosts your smell of all your favorite plants because basically the sulfur molecule is in essence a stem cell for terpene and aroma, as well as flavor. So if you want to maximize flavor and aroma in your favorite plants, use Silver Bullet. Go over to Backyard Farming Supply and grab yourself some today. Another one is enzyme. Our enzyme pods are perfect for an easy clone. It helps, and it's a perfect synergy product with Clear Res from Easy Clone, because now you've loaded it with the chemicals to clean the system and break down the organic compounds in the bioslime. And you've also loaded the microbiologically based enzymes that help to do the same things. So you're attacking the problem from two separate angles, loading your plant system with these biologically based enzymes, which ultimately cause rapid root expansion, which then is where Revitalize, Calnomag, and Green 9 come into play. All three of these products are amino acid based, and amino acids are plant candy nitrogen. There's a couple different types of nitrogen, and plants really like ammoniacal nitrogen or ammonium nitrogen. This is the key ingredient to most nitrogen-based fertilizers, is ammonium. So let's use amino acids, which are Mother Nature's ammonium, instead of a petroleum derivative offshoot that's a synthetic chemical that bypasses the microorganisms, goes right into the root zone, and causes the plant to grow. Let's use amino acids, which does the same thing, except for it feeds the microorganisms, which therefore grow the rhizosphere and the amount of beneficial life around the root system to accelerate the growth of the actual root system, the uptake of nutrients, air, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and boost plant growth. Calnomag is 17% calcium tied to amino acids. Revitalize is 14% nitrogen with 19 L-amino acids only. And Green 9 is amino acids bound to micronutrients. All of these products are powdered, super soluble, high concentration, and are very, very cost effective. So if you want to buy actual active ingredients instead of buying a watered down fertilizer to put in the water that you're already growing with, buy powdered fertilizers from Key to Life Nutrients today. We really need your help right now, guys. It's the gardening season, and there's just not enough growers taking their garden to the next level. So if you want to take your garden to the next level, you really need to be using some Key to Life nutrients, because otherwise you're using some watered down crap. So until then, let's figure out what you guys are going to be growing. And I know this year, one of my favorite things I'm growing is dwarf tomatoes. And I've really got to thank our new vendor partner, Victory. Victory Seeds has brought the Dwarf Tomato Project seeds to us and allow us to distribute to you guys, the backyard farmers, so that they can be grown in the Easy Clone system and have jaw-dropping results and make their tomatoes look absolutely amazing. Because they are. Because if you're sick of growing indeterminate tomatoes that you spend more time and energy trimming to then just hope that you get more fruit, switch to dwarfs. Because dwarf tomatoes are set it and forget it. Pull them out of the Easy Clone, transplant them in your veg room, trim them bottom up one time, now 4 weeks later, they're ready to go out to transplant outside. Trim them one more time just to make sure none of those leaves are hanging down into the dirt or anything like that. Set it and forget it. If you want to grow tomatoes and not sucker leaves and shooters, well, you're in luck. Dwarf tomatoes are for you. And we've got a great deal and a bunch of variety of dwarf tomatoes over at BYFS website. So go to backyardfarmingsupply.com or go ahead and scan the QR code. Grab yourself some seeds and get signed up for the next giveaway. Yeah, that's right. I said it. The next giveaway. What is it? You're going to have to stay tuned. We need to get these sales up there, and we need to get some entries into this. So let's keep rocking and rolling. And if you guys just are like, hey, I just need some stuff today, and I want to use the world's best marketplace to be able to buy some products, head on over to Amazon. Check out our affiliate page. Grab the link down below. We've already curated a fine selection of hand-picked products that are specifically chosen to reduce effort and increase results, because that's what it's all about for us, right? As backyard farmers, there's not enough hours in the day. We already have too many things going on. We want to enjoy the fruitful, amazing results that we're getting from our garden. Checking out our Amazon page or byfsupply.com is your first step to optimizing your garden results and minimizing your efforts. But also share your story, whether it's on socials, help us spread the word, because there's a lot of people out there that are worried about food, that are having a tough time feeding themselves and their families. So share the message, become a member of Backyard Farming Academy or BYF Academy on Facebook, as well as follow BYF Supply on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, or any of your favorite socials. If you guys are curious about some of our pro tips with EasyClone, head on over to the YouTube and check out some of the new EasyClone videos that we've been dropping. You'll be able to see some of my results over there, and your jaw is going to hit the ground. That's for sure. So thanks for spreading the love. Thanks for becoming a member of Backyard Farming Academy, and thanks for buying the Seed Starting Blueprint. It really allows us to continue bringing more content, more value, education, and pro tips for you, the backyard farming community, so that we can move through the rest of 2024 with one peace of mind, that we know where our food is coming from and we know how we're going to be feeding our family. It's always a benefit during those thoughts to know that you don't have pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, GMOs, and other chemicals that are going to be in your food that you didn't really even know about. So the Seed Starting Blueprint and the Backyard Farming Academy are your pro tip to take it to the next level. If you guys haven't been over to the Backyard Farming Academy site, it is byf.academy. And over there right now, we've got an insanely exclusive price going on for the Seed Starting Blueprint of $27. So if you want to grab an easy clone as well as the playbook, being the Seed Starting Blueprint to achieve next level results with minimal effort, head on over to byfsupply.com. I really appreciate you guys allowing us the opportunity to do not only what we're doing here on this podcast and the socials in general, and increase the awareness of the knowledge and pro tips to allow people to grow their own food, but also to just have fun while we're doing it. We had a blast with this giveaway. It was our very first giveaway ever, and we had 9,000-ish entries. So we're going to actually go right now, and we're going to draw the winner. I don't know if we can do a screen share of this. Can we screen share it? Let's see. Once again, guys, this is our first time, so thanks for hanging out. Once again, guys, this is our first time doing this, so thanks for hanging out while we learn the systems and methods to do the giveaway, and I'm getting pretty excited. Who is going to be the Seeds of Abundance giveaway winner? And how is this going to change your garden? Whoa! We're off into Star Trek computer screen land there. Aha, here we go. So how many entries did we officially get? It says right there. 8,121. So is that on screen share? Perfect. So 8,121. So we got 8,000-ish, not 9,000, excuse me. But for our first giveaway ever, that's pretty good. So there are a couple rules to the giveaway that I just have to say while we're about to do this drawing. Number 1, you have to be a USA citizen. Number 2, you have to be older than 18 years old. And number 3, you have to have a valid driver's license. This just ensures that we're not giving this thing away to some AI robot, because it happens nowadays. We had a couple people that just blew up our giveaway that we had to kind of figure out a way around in the very beginning with some AI bots. So we put these rules into effect literally just to make sure that a real person is getting it. Well, enough talking. Let's go ahead. Let's smash that button. This is done through Giveaway Ninja, by the way. And you'll kind of see us going through the steps here. Once again, this is our first time doing a giveaway like this ever. So we are going to announce the winner. And the winner is Chad. Chad is the winner. What is... Ooh, should we take Chad's email off the screen? Oh, I'm sorry, Chad. All right, we took it off. Chad, we will be sending you an email. My apologies for having your email up on the screen. They told us that it wasn't going to be there. So, Chad, I hope that the rack and the garden consultation is going to make up for me showing your email for about this long. We'll edit that out of the thing later. But Chad, you are the winner. Chad, are you watching the video right now? If so, put in the comments down below, I'm the winner, because I would love to see that you're watching the video right now. That's for sure. We were trying to get everybody to watch the video to make sure that everybody is here of the 8,000 people so we could announce the winner to one lucky winner who's going to take their gardening game up for the rest of their life. And Chad, have you started your seeds yet? If you didn't, you're in for a treat. So we have officially announced the winner for our Seeds of Abundance giveaway. I'm Tate Dooley. This was another podcast for Backyard Farming Supply, and we have got something interesting in the kitchen right now. We are cooking up a new podcast series. Let us know what you think. Our next podcast series is going to be the state of food. And we're going to go into all the different things going on with food, whether it's the articles that are coming out saying that big ag farmers using tractors and giant processing equipment have less of a carbon footprint than a backyard farmer. I don't think so. Or the stuff going on with them trying to put vaccines in food, or GMOs into food, or pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides, and their prices and their subsidization. We're going to kind of get a little political without going red or blue political, and we're going to go into the politics of food. What, when, where, how, why, who, and what is affecting food for you and your family for the future. So if you want to be a part of the State of Food podcast, we're actually looking for guests. And feel free to go ahead and throw us a DM if you've got something valuable to contribute around the non-blue or red political side of food and how it's being affected for the future, and some concerns and some opportunities that agriculture, big and small, has got right now. So stay tuned for the State of Food podcast. Starting date to be announced. Until then, I'm Tate Dooley. Thanks for joining us on Backyard Farming Supply. And Chad, you are the winner of the